Cinder apologized and got absolutely cooked.
Hey, what's up guys, Rev here. Welcome to part 2 of the Cinder controversy because she is now officially quote unquote apologized. We covered this in yesterday's video. If you want the full details leading up to today, I suggest watching that video. But if you want a quick breakdown of everything before we look at the new apology, basically you have this large indie VTuber named Cinder who found herself in a lot of controversy after a series of Google Docs were released about her, beginning with this one from the artist Nanolist, who detailed their personal experience with Cinder as well as Cinder's manager slash secret boyfriend named Redacted, where those two individuals would badmouth and slander many content creators.
The fact that his name is Redacted is so confusing. Like, it's like redacted as in like they don't want to say his name, but like no, his name is literally Redacted. That's his username.
Space, and then they try to get Nanolist, a very popular artist, to sign an exclusivity agreement with Cinder, meaning that Nanolist could only work with Cinder. And in this proposed agreement, there were specific content creators mentioned that they could no longer work with. Now, some of these content creators were just random people that had no personal relationship with Cinder. It was just pure jealousy on Cinder's part and insecurity. But there were some content creators that viewed Cinder as a close friend. Basically, Cinder was trying to sabotage the careers of her own friends for what, you may ask? Simply financial gain. She wanted to stay as the top dog in the indie scene, and she wanted
kind of literally
even her
actually
own friends
like top dog, kind of literally actually
suffer for her own success. Obviously, this doesn't go over well, and it goes even worse because Cinder would quickly try to get on top of this and make a statement that gets hit with a community note.
Yeah, so apparently like there was a statement and we didn't look at that yet.
Relevant evidence where she tried to basically blame all this on the manager boyfriend, saying it's all his fault and he has been fired. Well, that didn't go over well, as you can see by the metrics here. On Twitch alone, she lost 5,000 followers on Saturday, 6,500 followers on Sunday, and over 8,100 followers so far today. And then on YouTube, she lost 5,000 on Saturday, 6,000 on Sunday, and over 10,000 so far today. And you might have noticed that the number for today is the biggest, and it's blowing up even more as the day goes on. And that's because, well, she apologized and that's going very badly. But you also saw fans going nuts. People were literally burning their Cinder merch. Now,
I literally saw this on X.
I get the frustration, but as pointed out here, I think the best route, especially with any sort of clothing related merch, if you don't want to support her anymore, I would suggest donating it instead of destroying it, because I don't think some like kid in need who's cold and needs a sweater would mind if there's a disgraced hellhound VTuber on it. Like, you know what I'm saying? But as I mentioned, there was the official Google Doc apology from Cinder. This was, of course, uploaded within an hour or so of yesterday's video. As always, that always happens. But you can see down here before we read the document.
Zargblock says, why is this nonsense getting so much attention? I can answer that. So the reason why this is getting so much attention is because the people involved are all like, they're basically like pretty big names in the VTuber sphere, especially within the indie sphere. So you have a lot of people involved here, like Shy Lily, Bao, Silverveil, and then like, you know, big artists, right, being involved in it. So that's why everybody's talking about it.
Shy Lily, like looming down here with this very
it's kind of like when there's Mr. Beast drama, right? It's like there's like some drama with Mr. Beast and like everybody fucking wants to know about it. It's the same thing. It's like the same thing, but for VTubers.
Threatening presence. We're gonna read her response that would ratio this attempted apology into the shadow realm. So I'm gonna do something that I know you guys appreciate. I'm gonna try to make this Google Doc rundown as simple and efficient as possible. I could sit here and read all 7 pages of what looks like a college student trying to get their essay in on time and reaching a certain word.
You just like take it and you just put it in ChatGPT and say the summarize.
Count, but I'm going to summarize this in a very simple way. All you have to do is keyword search sorry. Yep, sorry. There's about 20 mentions of sorry in this 7-page essay here. And the first one you find, the first mention of the word sorry, is on page 5, at the end of page 5. Yeah, that's not a very good apology. Overall, this is not the worst apology in YouTube history. Like, Cinder didn't pull out a ukulele or anything like that. But when you're making an apology that is 7 pages long and it takes 5 pages to reach the first sorry, it's not a good look. And on top of that, those first 5 pages, complete gobbledygook, okay? A waste of time, as I have said. And she begins and continues on throughout the entire apology, trying to shift all the blame on her manager slash boyfriend. She tries to paint him as responsible for everything and that Cinder had no idea what he was doing. And it's very evident right here, right at the beginning. The only part from the first 5 pages we're going to actually look at here. In regards to Nanolis, they say this: I was not fully aware of the extent of Red's manipulation over Nano's commission decisions, and I should have been more diligent in my oversight. She's basically saying I had no idea this was happening and I should have been watching a little closer, even though there's plenty of interactions between.
Yeah. Well, so the reason that I don't really buy that, there's chat logs of them being involved with the decision making here. So this doesn't even make sense that it's like specifically like redacted, because in the cases I specifically saw, they actually talked about it.
Cinder and Nanolis about these exclusivity agreements and who she can or can't work with. It's just a bunch of BS. But let's skip to the good part where the sorries actually start happening, and it begins right here with this saying, I don't deserve to be able to contact everyone involved directly to personally apologize, so I'll do it here in the chance they read it. So they begin with Nano, and again, to make this efficient, we're going to just focus on the sections where we see a mention of sorry. So we begin right off the bat. I'm sorry for letting things get to this point. I'm not sorry for any individual action. I'm sorry it got to this point. Or even entertain the thought of you working exclusively with me. That's not fair to you. I wouldn't be here without you, and I wouldn't have been able to do most of what I've already done without you. I felt overly attached to our relationship over the past 4 years and loved your work so much that I wanted to make myself exclusive to your art and should have never sought those feelings to be reciprocated. Everything you've ever worked on.
The problem is them basically canceling other people's stuff while it was mid production. If they like slowed this down a bit and said like, okay, like we're gonna pay you more for your art, and then like slowly like, can you like work mostly for us and do mostly our stuff? They could have done this completely under the radar. Honestly, at the most there would be like speculations of it.
For me was always so perfect, and I lost sight of how everyone else around me would have felt. I had no intent.
Nothing wrong with being exclusive. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Like that's what I said earlier. Like a lot of people are up in arms about that. I actually have no problem with that, because it's also good for the art. If you think about it, right, it's also good for the artist if that's what they want. It's a completely different thing if the artist doesn't want that, right? But if the artist actually, for instance, was okay with that, they would make more money, right? Because then you would pay them more money specifically for the exclusivity. And you know, it's up to the artist, it's up to the person who they're talking to determine whether what they want more is like more broad exposure, or if they want more is the money. Because if they need the money like now, then doing some kind of exclusivity thing will make them more money. But they might also determine that like, oh, it's actually in my best interest to get more coverage, as in like, you know, I can build more relationships with more people by being non-exclusive.
Of pressuring you into anything, but looking back on my clouded judgment, I can see how those messages felt that way. Yes, so basically trying to, again, act like she had no idea what's going on. She begins with the sorry, basically saying, sorry, I wanted to isolate you from other content creators and other business opportunities for my own personal greed, and I used you as a sort of proxy for my own pettiness, where I wanted to use.
That's the problem. That's the thing I think that is going to be very hard for them to get out of this.
Use you in a way to sabotage VTubers I'm jealous of, including some of my own close friends. Yeah, that is a pretty messed up thing to do, and this apology to Nano is very, very weak, and it's trying to deflect blame on basically not understanding the extent of what's going on here. We now move on to Bao, who was a very close friend of.
I heard Bao took it particularly hard. From what I saw, Bao actually confided in them about how she was upset that her model got canceled, but we'll see. We'll see
Cinder,
if that's
and
true.
Someone very affected by this, someone who was directly named in some of those exclusivity agreements, and they basically try to do the same thing, talking about how they're just such a great friend and they're disgusted with themselves for buying into the narrative that my friends were competition. Interesting. They begin by saying that and saying, basically, I'm sorry these.
They can be. actually. And that's fine. You can have a friendly competition with your friends. There's nothing wrong with that.
Ideas were filled into my head. As she says here, but I did. I'm sorry for not reaching out sooner about these ideas that were put in my head. She's basically saying someone else put this idea in her head to sabotage her own friends, and she was just helpless. She was basically possessed by this idea, and, you know, her hands moved on the keyboard all by themselves. She did absolutely nothing wrong. Let's move on to Sack. This one's a very weird one, saying, I love getting to chat with you in person and absolutely loved all the hard work you put in.
The Judas of VTuber.
Into the Boss Rush song. I was so grateful to hear that you were on board to edit the MV. I don't remember exactly why the stream got pushed back, but I definitely wouldn't have put the blame on you, knowing about how soon the deadline was.
Wait, which one was the one that everyone was talking about? There was like a third person?
When you started working on it, I was so thankful for your willingness to complete the project despite everything, and the quality of how it turned out was incredible. I can't believe how Red talked about you, especially after all the effort you put in for me. Yeah, it's another sorry this all happened, and sorry that Red did this to you. She's not taking any personal accountability here. Obviously, this is a theme so far. Now she moves on to Cottontail and Shiloh.
This reminds me of like this guy, and he was talking about like words that like his wife can't pronounce. And it was like, I forgot, like a really, really hard word. And the next one was like, I'm sorry. And like she couldn't pronounce it.
Who were dragged into this. Yeah, she begins by saying, I'm so sorry you had to get dragged into this. It's my fault I let it get this far, but I hope you can believe me when I say I had
She was like, I'm sorry.
knowledge of Red bringing you up in Nano's DMs. Amazing. It's the boyfriend's fault again, and she's sorry they got
wait, but are they still together? Did he say, it's okay, queen, you can blame me for everything? Like, is that what happened? Like,
dragged into this.
He's like, I'll take
the
it,
jealousy
queen.
that she expressed regularly. Sorry that
I'm just curious. It doesn't really matter, Zamikano. I'm just curious.
That actually was connected to you, and yeah,
because it builds a funny image in my mind. That's why I'm curious.
Again, a D- for this one. Another very bad grade on this apology. Then we address Silverveil here, who was a very interesting part of this whole series. She released a Google Doc on her role. She was directly mentioned as one of the VTubers that an analyst could not work with, and she expressed many other thoughts about how she hates that people compare the two, and she just wants to break free from Silverveil. And Silverveil's like, I don't know who you are. Like, it's absolutely insane. And Silverveil was approached by Cinder on multiple occasions where she was basically trying to create a like
Silver is so fucking nice. This is
fake friendship for financial gain. And it was very clear that's what it was. And Silverveil just said, no, I'm not interested.
Honestly, I look up to her for that, honestly, to Silverveil, because she's just like, I'm not going to do this. I'm playing this fucking game. Like, Silver was like, basically like, I'm not going to collab with people just for the sake of it, just for business reasons. She's basically like, she doesn't want to have any like transactional business, like hangout relationship. And like, I think that's awesome, actually. Super cool.
In any of that. But again, following the sorry format here, just looking for the mentions of that, you can see her addressing the whole photo thing, and she thought that this was the result of her being pressured by the community. That's why she took that photo together with Cinder acting like they're friends when in reality they had never spoken before. She also says this. This is amazing. I was so wrong for letting everyone get in my head about all these malicious feelings. I'm so sorry for any opportunities I've taken away from you. I'm sorry, Silver. So she's literally saying, again, I'm sorry other people's thoughts affected my behavior. Like, again, she had no control over her own thoughts and actions because...
Yeah, that's true. It's basically like saying sorry, but then you make up an excuse for it, like right after.
As people are making comparisons between Silverveil and Cinder. Then you have this Spite individual who really just kind of got shortchanged here. I mean, 3 lines. This was someone that, again, they were comparing themselves to and saying that Spite was trying to rip off Cinder with some of their decisions, and that was proven very false. But you can see to Spite.
You guys ever think that this is literally like, you know, the meme of like my OC donut steal? It's like literally that.
Sorry, I
it's
had
actually
assumed
unreal.
things about your design that weren't true.
It's crazy.
And I'm sorry you've been harassed by commenters needing to compare us. And I apologize for the way Red spoke about you to Nano. You don't deserve any of this. I'm sorry. That one's wild. Only 3 lines, and for a person who's pretty involved, and on top of that, they're again talking about the other commenters who are comparing us and apologizing for Red. Crazy. Then you have this one to Peaches here where it says, I'm sorry if I made it seem like I was ignoring or ghosting you. And this is another thing you see again and again where it says, I'm sorry you feel this way.
Honestly, when it comes to like these kind of apologies, it's better to just either go all in and like actually apologize or just say, fuck it, I'm not apologizing. I think doing like this kind of half-ass thing is actually like the worst possible thing that you could do.
Based on what I did. Not saying I'm sorry for what I did. No, it's I'm sorry you felt that way. That's never a good thing in a attempt at an apology. Then you have Rain here saying, by the way, this is the guy who claims that he was involved with her with sexting and stuff while she was in a relationship with Red years ago. Well, she confirmed it earlier in the document that yes, she was in fact cheating on her secret boyfriend manager. They were both very aware that she had a boyfriend at the time. Nobody was a saint in that situation, but she confirmed it. And then this is her apology to the guy she cheated on her boyfriend with, okay? You were the first person I met as an ASM artist. During a time where I was immature and vulnerable, I ended up being consumed by the content I was making, and it led me to making awful decisions. I've hated myself for this kind of behavior, and it took a long time for me to move on from what happened. I have no excuses. I'm sorry you were dragged into my drama, and I'm sorry how I made you feel after I just wanted to close the book on things. I cannot believe the apology to the guy she cheated on her boyfriend with is more legitimate and more heartfelt than pretty much everyone else in this scenario. It's kind of wild if you think about it, but this is the last...
Wait, so they cheated by sexting?
Stop on the apology tour here to our community. I'm sorry to my pyro pups and my mods for expecting me to lead a better example than this. I'm sorry to the VTuber community for always looking at me as someone to aspire to. I'm sorry to Kaiser, who's put his heart and soul into everything he's ever done with me and not even talking to you about how I felt. I'm sorry to the dozens of artists that have put their hard work into me, and I'm sorry to the rest of my friends who I've let down. I've led a bad example, and I don't expect forgiveness. I've made many mistakes over the 5 years on the internet. I'm only one person living the one life I get for the first time and only time, like everyone else. As I said,
5 years on the internet,
I ended up developing an extremely unhealthy work-life balance, and the harm Red has caused with the way he viewed things is irreparable.
This is literally like the worst thing. This is the worst way you could have done this. Either say, fuck it, don't care, business is business, don't feel bad at all, whatever. Either that or just honestly saying nothing probably would have done better. Probably better off just not posting anything. You know what I mean? Like,
even in her apology to her community, she says, I'm sorry about working too hard.
To be honest, she's pretty base for this. Says Crider. I don't see that. I don't know.
Hard. And then I'm sorry what Red did to you. Absolutely amazing. Crazy work.
You could say that if like it was just like a full out apology. If it was like a full out apology, like I could see that.
And yeah. But as you might expect,
like
this is going over very poorly. Not only are fans leaving, but all of her peers, all of her friends, all of her collaborators, they're all dunking on her. Pretty much every big indie VTuber has come out and replied to this apology, and it's brutal. And I'm going to start with the most brutal one, the hardest ratio in the West, Shy Lily, who normally doesn't engage in drama, so this is a pretty surprising response, and this is the longest one we're going to read, but let's get into it. The absolute audacity to sit here and continue to manipulate and gaslight is absolutely insane. The pain and mental torment you've caused to the ones closest.
If she'd straight up apologized and talked to people in private and took accountability, she could have avoided this. Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Is absolutely insane. The pain and mental torment you've caused to the ones closest and most supportive of you has been devastating, and I have never been so heartbroken and hurt so badly for my friends. You are the fakest person I've ever had the displeasure of supporting. Reading and hearing of how you've really viewed me behind my back, not just through screenshots of your man, but also your own messages, while having to sit here and read through these bullshit lies you spin makes me want to vomit. To claim that you didn't know a single thing and had zero awareness of what your man was up to, when everyone who's shared even a single moment with you knows that you basically operate as the same person, sharing every waking moment while loving to jump at the slightest opportunity to turn into your most slanderous self as soon as the opportunity was given, even when talking about your friends, is sickening.
Damn.
I have experienced your own actions without Red in a situation where, in your own screenshotted words, you express a pressure to live up to what Lily is, and proceeded to throw one of your most loyal and supportive friends under the bus after months of continuous planning just because you consistently chose business over friends, never feeling bad for failing them, just to earn the bag and compete with me over a V-Card collab that you rescheduled to be on the exact date your friend needed you to keep an important promise. You actively lied about it to them, instead blaming me for a collab you rescheduled, adding me to the pool of excuses to save your ass when you realized you were being a bad friend. Why blame me for choosing to miss an obligation you agreed to on one of the most important days in your friend's career? Everything you do is out of competition through your constant need to one-up the people who are the sole reason you even have these opportunities and platforms to earn from
It's true. Damn.
to begin with. You're welcome, by the way. You claim that it's just business. Well, in the business world, there has to be accountability, and all you've done is try to shove it away and admit to nothing. In true narcissistic fashion, you're only feeling sorry about yourself and your own consequences and your career, and try to salvage it.
This is what I said earlier. It doesn't seem like it's about money or the amount of clout or the amount of fame. Like it's relative to like the people around them. They just want to have more than the people around them. Basically,
sorry for everyone who looked up to you.
The person has to win at all costs. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Especially sorry for your fans. Pyro Pups deserve better. 95,000 likes, ladies and gentlemen. This was a scorcher. This wasn't coming in with the steel chair out of nowhere off the top rope. This was out of nowhere with a steel chair from the top rope. This was an absolute bomb of a response. As you can see, 95,000 likes versus 13,000 likes on the apology tweet. Absolute devastation.
It's a lot of jealousy is what it is.
Let's look at a couple more VTubers here. And also I want to mention too, Shy Lily is a big part of Gamersups, who, by the way, Cinder is a partial owner of. So coming out to basically...
So what happened? Wait, Cinder is a partial owner of Gamersups? What, like a stockholder, or like what's going on? She bought into it? Okay, so it's kind of like if you bought stocks, basically.
We slam a person who is a partial owner of a company you work pretty regularly with. That is a ballsy move, and man, she must look pretty stupid right now. Cinder, that is, for everything going on here. Here's Vebe saying, the old classic shift, the blame onto the boyfriend, fake a breakup, come back single and in therapy, and then capitalize on what's left of your community. They deserve better. Then you have Yanners commenting on this, saying, I've seen Silver receive so much harassment and unfair comparisons to you over the years, and she just tanked it, minded her business, and never once tried to sabotage your success or tear you down, deflecting and outright lying several times in this response instead of fully owning up to your mistakes is insulting to everyone. I can't help but feel very frustrated on behalf of my friend and everyone who was on the receiving end of so much unnecessary stress, largely due to the choices you made. They handled the situation with much more grace than you decided to, and they deserve better. The weird backhanded remark you made the first time we ever met last year stuck with me, and now it makes a lot more sense knowing that this is apparently how you normally view and treat people. I hope you can learn from this and realize it's way easier to be kind and to be happy for your success as well as the success of others. And here's a comment from Megalodon VT saying, I looked up to you, man. Well, that was the first mistake. You shouldn't look up to anime girls on the internet. That's mistake number one, especially one who's a big breakout a couple years ago, was doing a cover of a song about basically giving top. It's pretty much all it was. But anyways, let's move on. Here's another one saying, as if boyfriend and girlfriend don't tell each other every single little thing. You are blaming him to save yourself. I am disappointed in both of you. Shame on you for the pain you have caused all your friends just so you can be the best. And one more here from Sorry saying, mistakes, jealousy, and losing control are understandable. You can grow from them, but betrayal is different. It shows you're willing to sacrifice close friends.
I saw that one on my feed.
And no business should ever justify that. Brutal, but very true. Now, a lot of people have been making memes, okay? A little more lighthearted notion here. There's some very good memes coming out of this situation. Let's start with this one.
Okay, I confess. SpongeBob killed him.
His profile picture, this is the real profile picture of the manager boyfriend, it's just perfect for everything going on. And you have Rima here doing an AI crossover with the ukulele apology. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like she's playing the ukulele here, but anyway.
Holy fuck. Holy fuck.
Anyways, we have this one with Rick and Morty.
Hey, I found a ticket. Wow, you are just, ladies and gentlemen, the Jackie Chan of human shielding. Who takes the time to get this good at?
Beautiful. Here's another one, Google Docky. Everyone's saying Google Docky because of the chicken jockey thing. You get it? You get it? Also, people are making some statements that I think are pretty odd, too. Like, the reaction's very, very pessimistic, I would say. This person said, if y'all think Cinder is the only VTuber that does this, y'all are insane. I can guarantee that 90% of VTubers do this. You have no friends in this industry. That's just facts. Also, not exclusive.
That's a little bit much. I see where they're going with this, and there's a lot of truth in it, but then I think that's a little much, basically. It's a little bit too pessimistic, I think.
To VTubers, it's just more women run in these circles. Oops. Yeah, I get that, like, this happens among content creators. There's always drama and backstabbing, but to think 90% of VTubers...
No, there is a lot. I mean, there is a lot of, like, backstabbing. There is a lot of, like, one-upping and, like, clout chasing. There's definitely a lot of that stuff, for sure. But what I'm saying is, like, you have to be able to recognize when you have actual friends. And you can't just, like, preemptively backstab them because you think that the whole industry is like that. You know, I have some really good friends in the VTubing industry. I've got Shy, I've got Saber, I've got Ashtray. I got a ton of good VTuber friends. Minya, tons. More than that. Ayla, like I could go on and on. There's tons of good people. Nyaru, there's tons of people that I could go into. Like dude, even like Tazuto and Crimbo, like I don't even agree with them on like almost anything, and they're great. You know. But obviously, there's just like so many people I can name that like I don't even, you know, if I don't say your name, it doesn't mean I'm mad at you. Just let's not be stupid here. The point is of what I'm trying to say is there are a lot of good people too, and you're gonna fuck yourself up if you just like think that too, right? The more competitive the industry, the harder it is to find genuine friends. I mean, that's true, especially like when you start to get into like kind of cutthroat levels when you're kind of approaching like the top percentages of stuff. It just gets really rough, you know? Guys, it's one thing to like disagree with people and to like, you know, like you disagree with your friends, you get mad at your friends, you talk a little bit of shit. That's not really anything. People do that all the time when they're frustrated, they're mad, or like they have, you know, disagreement about something. It's fine. You know what I mean? That's completely separate from like, you know, if something actually happened to one of your friends, like you would have their back, right? It's completely different. When you're trying to do like actual lasting damage to someone, that's different, right? Like for instance, in this specific case, they're trying to sabotage the other person's career. You don't really do that to somebody you care about. Jealousy and envy are human emotions, but how we deal with them is a test. Yes, exactly. Human beings are not pure. That's like the whole point of like the human condition. And a lot of the times people have these stupid dramas and it's really nothing. But all people do things that are not ideal. And really the only thing you can do is try to get as close as you can to not doing anything that's bad like that. And try to live like your life in a way that you have less regrets. You're always going to do things that you regret all the time. I mean, I don't know how other people see it, but like for me, like I want to have as little on that list as possible. On the day that I die, I want the list of regrets to be as short as possible. That's it. That's how I live my life. And, you know, that's not to say, again, that's not to say I'm perfect. I fuck up all the time. Everybody fucks up all the time because we're human. Like I knew Mike Ross in real life and we were friends. and he like reminded me of something. Like, he's not mad at me, but like he reminded me of like one of our last interactions before like the whole like I stopped like kind of hanging out with people. One of my last interactions with him was I played League of Legends against him, and I whooped the fuck out of his team. But then the thing is I told them get wrecked or something like that. Like, I was like kind of mean, and like he was like, you got me to quit the game and never played it again because of you. And like, dude, I felt kind of bad. But that's kind of what I mean. Like, you know, everybody does things that they regret. I was like, oh shit, that's fucked up, right? But yeah, it's you know, everyone does things that they regret is what I'm trying to say. That's like kind of the point of that story.
Backstab you and they're not your friend, it's all fake. Like, that seems like projection. Like, you're surrounding yourself with the wrong people. I definitely recommend being very careful with who you share anything with or try to form a bond with, because yeah, it is a business for a lot of people. But I wouldn't be so pessimistic about everything. There's plenty of people who are good in the VTubing scene and in content creation generally. But where do we go from here? I don't know. Can Cinder salvage any of this? I'm sure she can come back at a very limited capacity. There's going to be people who just don't care about this sort of stuff. But yeah, she's actually pretty cooked. I'm surprised it's had as much backlash as it has, not just the fans going, but also all of her former friends and former collaborators. I mean, everyone's come out of the woodwork.
Man. Yeah, that was probably not a good apology. I didn't really see that much from there, though. But the issue I have with a lot of the coverage on this is nobody's talking about the artist at all. And like, I feel like freaking insane. Am I the only one that perceives this? That like that the artist had a say in this and they didn't do anything? Tectone covered the whole thing. I guess we could look at the Tectone stuff then.